dreamers, doers, and rule breakers. People who try new things, take risks, and break the mold. Wins or stumbles, that's how the world shifts. This is How It Shifts.
Welcome to another episode of How It Shifts. Today with the topic of rethinking work in the age of AI. My name is Tina Bieber and my guest today is Tim Cakir. So Tim, it's great to have you here today. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your story?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tina. It's an absolute pleasure and great intro. I love the intro of the podcast, by the way. I was like, wow, that's really cool. That inspired me quite a bit. So thank you. Yeah, my name is Tim Cakir or Tim Cakir or Cakir. Everybody says it in a different way. It's very tough. I was able to change the first name. The first name was Timuchin, and now it's Tim, so that it's easier for everybody.
Timuchin.
Timuchin, yeah. Yeah. So, but it's actually Genghis Khan's real name was Temujin.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like a Mongolian emperor. But anyways, that's a side story,
surprised,
right? But now I go with Tim Cakir, not as emperor, but what to do. So, yeah, my name is Tim Cakir, as I mentioned. I'm the founder of AR Operator. My story is a very long story, but I'll try to keep it short. Is my dad's Turkish, my mom's French. I was born in Istanbul. I moved to Seattle for high school, then Los Angeles, then London, then Barcelona. I did 25 years abroad, so away from home, and I did lots of different jobs. I started in sales. Actually, my first ever kind of job or how I made money was actually I was a kid actor in commercials in Istanbul.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. So I do have a few advertisements, but luckily back then there was no internet, so you can't find them. It was early days, or like there was not even internet, I think. So there was just
Don't make
mailing.
yourself older than you are now, okay?
But yeah. I look young because I just got a haircut, and just for this podcast, just for you, Tina. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So I was an actor, but then I stole the answers of an exam at school, and I sold the answers. So I stole them from the printing room or whatever, and then I printed lots of copies, and then I sold it to people, to kids. That was really fun back then. It was me doing sales kind of thing. That was my first proper sales role. And then in Los Angeles, I was selling carpets door to door. So I was literally selling flying carpets, right? So I was like, oh, here's a flying carpet. It just flew like a meter or whatever. But I made a ton of money when I was very young in Los Angeles and LA. And yeah, I spent that even faster than I made it. It was really fun times. And then I got into marketing. I realized that I didn't want to sell things to people that didn't want it. It didn't feel that ethical. The money was great, but I was like, yeah, that's not very ethical, I guess. So then I found marketing. I was like, oh, okay, you can find people in the world that might want these things. So then I got into marketing. I moved to London, and I'm a sound engineer and music producer, DJ, by trade as well, by school. My degree is in sound engineering. My wife is a singer-songwriter, so we're quite a creative family. And so I got into media production, companies, studios, and stuff like that in London. And then I found myself in deep tech. So I moved to Barcelona for a computer vision company. Actually, the first company was even more, it was data for telcos, and then computer vision, which was my early days of AI. So I was in AI 10 years ago, maybe more.
10 years ago,
but
right.
Yeah, but AI wasn't sexy whatsoever. Nobody wanted AI. It was just like, oh, these nerds and these geeks doing AI stuff. But I was head of marketing, and we had these data scientists. We had 6 or 7 data scientists sitting in front of computers, and I was like, wow, what are they doing? And they were just images, and they were kind of selecting parts in the image and tagging it as hardwood floor, a window, ceiling. So they were basically training the machine on recognizing images for real estate.
Right.
I was, that's really boring. So is that science? And then from there on, I was in growth hacking, growth consultancy. I helped a bunch of companies. And then it was, I think, November 30th or 31st, 2022, when ChatGPT came alive. I didn't sleep for a while. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I was like, I slapped my eyes for that for like weeks. And my wife was like, oh my, he's cheating on me. Yeah. He has, and I was like, this is my wife to my mistress. I was like, here you go. This is ChatGPT. This is my wife. And she's like, she's like, "Really? Is this what you've been doing every night?" I'm like, yep. Uh, and that's when I decided that, or I understood that this was going to change the world. And because I knew the technology from before as well, and I started to kind of put them together, and I was like, wow, this is going to change the world. And then I left my role as a CEO at Task Drive, and I started to build AI Operator.
Mhm.
So long story
Very
short.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much
And
for
what is AI
sharing.
Operator?
Yeah. What is the
You're
AI
welcome.
operator?
Yeah, well, the AI Operator, the AI Operator is me, but AI Operator as a company is, right now what we do is we train humans in being best friends with AI at work, right? So in a fun way, right? So making sure that they get inspired and that they see AI as an ally, they see AI as a colleague, as an assistant, they see AI as one of their team members instead of seeing it as a competition. Because all the benchmarks until today, it's AI versus the human, and you'll see
Hmm.
like it says, "Oh, the AI is better at this," or "the human is better at that." Still, and there's like nobody says, "How about the AI and the human together?" Right? There's no benchmarks here because you just smash every benchmarks, right? So I put myself as a mission on. Actually, my mission is AI for better lives.
Hmm.
So I want to make sure that AI is for better lives. And my first company in this portfolio is AI Operator, which is AI for better work.
Right.
So we train
Yeah.
we train people, we train companies. It's corporate custom AI training program to make sure that they're more efficient, that they love it, they use it, they understand it, and so on.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like when you're out there, and like I think the things that you're saying that it's AI versus the human,
Yeah,
there's a lot of fear out there, right? Like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, all the jobs are going to be taken. What is happening with us? Like, is AI taking over? Is AI taking over?
Well, I mean, if we let AI take over, it will take over. But I think that uh, we don't want AI to take over. Is that we want us to take over AI and us to use AI. So I think the wording is really wrong that a lot of people use, and that's why it's creating fear. Because let's be honest, Tina, positive news doesn't sell, right? Positive news
Mm,
doesn't get amplified. You never hear on the
yeah.
news like, oh, somebody is doing really well, and it's like, oh, there's a bomb or there's a war. It's never like, oh, some
Mm,
positive new flowers are in the park. Nobody says that, which is very sad.
mm,
So that's the same thing with AI. It's always like this negative jobs, and that's how you're commercializing it. That's how you're amplifying the reach of it. And so I don't think AI is taking over whatsoever, because
mm,
we're still in control. If we let it take over, if we want it to take over, it will. But I
mm,
don't think that we will do that, or I'm not going to do that. I'm on the other side where I see AI as I do say this in a geeky way, but it's like my best friend at work, right? It
mhm,
does all the stuff that I don't want to do or that I want to do less of. It does it really well, and even the things that I love to do, we do it better together.
mm. Yeah, I love that because it also means like the intention we are putting in and how we are using it is at the root of it, right? And in the conversation we had before, you mentioned, well, there's like a fixed and a growth mindset. You actually mentioned a really good example when we talked before. You said like, well, if you think about education or students, you
Hmm.
have like
Hmm.
these kind of students, they're just using
Yeah,
it to, let's
yeah,
say, write an essay, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think that this is going to be my next, hopefully, portfolio company, and that's going to be my next focus is going to be AI for better learning. So that's it's about lifelong education, coaching, and AI enhanced teaching. But what I realized right now, what's going to differentiate humans, and it's not going to be, I think poverty. slash rich, like that difference, poverty and versus rich, is going to become because of the difference in mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a static mindset person doesn't want to learn AI, fears AI, finds it all negative, and does their job, and they close at 5 o'clock, and they're like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
did my part. If AI takes over, whatever. They don't really think about it. They just get scared about it, and they'll obsess about football or something like that, or some Turkish soap opera kind of TV shows. That everything's dramatic and stuff like that, and they like drama. Like, people like drama. Well, that's what I realized. A lot of people like fear and drama and sad things because it's easy to be sucked in. It's a pendulum. It's a bad energy. It's a negative energy.
Our
That's
brain
another.
is wired like this, right? Like we're more
Yes.
receptive to negativity. Yeah.
Yes, sadly, yes. But the growth mindset person is like, oh, okay, well, I finish at 5, if they have a time thing, and they're like, let me do an hour of ChatGPT. Let me try this new tool I saw. Let me learn this. Let me learn that. How can I do my job tomorrow even better and faster, right? So I think this is what's going to differentiate people in work, but this is happening from students and from younger generations. There was lots of news. Our kids are getting dumber.
Mm.
I said it like that, and the kids can get dumber if they like, okay, ChatGPT write the essay for me, or ChatGPT do this for me, and they're like, oh, great, done. And then you have the kid is like, oh, okay, ChatGPT, can we research about this topic together? Can you tell me more about this topic? Can we do a deep research? Can you give me some examples? And they ask these questions, and then the ChatGPT or other AI answers it and says that, and they're like, okay, ask me more questions, and they ask each other questions. And one thing is great at lots of information, which is the AI is great at finding information, summarizing information, having lots of data, and the human is great at thinking outside the box, right, and being creative and being fired up by this AI, and together doing really great work. So you can see the differentiation of the two people. The one that has the growth mindset is going to go very, very far, and the one that has a fixed mindset is going to stay where they are, hopefully for them, or worst case, they're gonna go down. They're gonna go down in education, in levels of understanding, and they're gonna go down in, sadly, monetary, in economical value of their household as well. So I think we're gonna see this differentiator very, very soon, and it's gonna come back down to growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
And how fast do you think like change is happening now? Because it feels like the development of AI is like at rocket speed, right? It's like it is kind of scary, like
Yeah.
in terms of can we still keep up, or what is happening? It feels like the world is on fire now. There's like what do you think is going to happen the next 5 years?
Yeah, well, I think that the next 5 years, wow, things are getting faster and faster for sure. So I think in the next 5 years, we're definitely going to have some type of economical reset. And I think that we just this morning I was reading even something about stocks. The stocks are going to. We can see Bitcoin going down. Stocks are going to reset at some point, 12 to 18 months or so. And then we're going to lose a lot of jobs for sure, because AI is going to take over some jobs that those jobs should have potentially not being done manually, because we have these powers now, and we're gonna be like, okay, well, and the humans are gonna be sad because they're gonna be like, oh, well, that was my job, but they can find new jobs. There's gonna be new jobs, and that's gonna be a shift. And I think that shift is gonna take 3 to 5 years or so. Not sure exactly when it's gonna start, but it's in the next 10 years. But if we look at 5 years, we might be right in the middle of that shift. If that starts in a couple of years, we'll be in it for a while. In about 7 years or so from today, we might be coming back out again as very positively, because humans will focus on more the creative work, more on the things that they love to do, where we're going to have these things that does the things that we don't want to do. Even when we look at robotics today, then there's Neo out there. Everybody's like, oh, what's this? It's like a humanoid that can fold a t-shirt, but it folds terribly. Like, I'm bad at folding t-shirts, but I'm not as bad as that, right? And everybody's like, well, this is terrible. Of course it's terrible, but imagine that in a couple of years. Imagine that in 3 to 4 years. And I told my wife the other day, she was like, I don't want this. I was like, well, imagine one day you're not gonna tidy up any kid's toy from the floor, right? And she's like, oh, that sounds that that sounds interesting, right? So we're thinking about robots or this. We're not talking about what is the value that they're going to bring, or the same thing in the AI, right? We're thinking about, oh, we're going to lose jobs, but we're not saying, oh, the AI is going to bring such value that, we're going to have time to be creative, we're going to have time to be with our kids, we're not going to do 9 to 5s maybe, and maybe the 4-day week is going to be much more realistic, because we are going to have these machines doing a lot of the reporting, a lot of the accounting, a lot of the finance stuff, and a lot of the things that potentially founders don't want to do. And then, yeah, you're like, okay, what's going to happen to those people? So I believe that the next 5 years is going to be very interesting, because we saw the last 3 years, it's been super interesting. We're recording this, we're November 5th, 2025, just out there if you're watching this in the future, and
It's full moon today.
yeah, it's full moon. Teenage is gonna any minute
My
convert
energy
to a
is all
wolf. Yeah.
over the
If
place.
she turns into a wolf, it's okay. We'll be fine. I'm online. She can attack, so that'll be fine. I was watching Wednesday. I don't know if you watch Wednesday's new Netflix show. It's I don't watch
No.
Netflix much, but every month,
When do
like, if
you
I
do
have
that? You have small children. I have a 3-year-old.
yeah,
When do you have
yeah.
time to watch like series?
Exactly. It's been a month. I haven't watched a new episode. I finally watched a new episode, like a new episode after a month or something like that. So it was exciting. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So yeah, so it's like one episode a month if I can. I'm lucky, right?
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, but coming back to that future, and to today, we are going to have, in about 26 days from today, we're going to have a 3rd-year anniversary of ChatGPT, and that's going to be a very interesting time. I don't know if something crazy is going to happen or not. I hope so. I hope that it's going to be much more multi-agentic kind of features and so on is going to come. That's what I'm expecting, because we can see it from some of the competition. And then we're going to have another very interesting couple years, because it's not going to be just ChatGPT and an agent. It's going to be ChatGPT that can control many other agents that we might build or ask ChatGPT to build for us, right? And suddenly, that relationship that we have today, which we do have, sadly, a relationship, and some people has a weird relationship with AI. But right now, it's kind of a one-on-one relationship. It's me and ChatGPT, but then suddenly it's going to be me and these agents, me and this whole army of AIs, so I think that the next few years is going to be super cool, and then we'll have robotics, and then in 5 years we are going to have bad times, sadly, but I believe that if anybody wants to get ready for that, it's learning AI now. It's practicing AI now, understanding its strengths and weaknesses, because those weaknesses tomorrow will become not weaknesses anymore, right? And they're going to become strengths very, very soon. And then you can be ready for this shift in labor, in this shift in working styles, this shift in how we work, because we are going to relearn how we work. And I believe this is going to happen in the next 5 years.
There's one worrying aspect for me in there. I'm very into the role of the individual in the collective. Like, an individual has needs, like, the feeling of belonging, the feeling of impacting, the feeling of sense making. But community is huge. And now we live in a world that feels like increasingly disconnected. Because we're like, I mean, you and me, we work remotely, right? You live in Turkey, I live in Amsterdam, whatever. Like, it's like, we're not physically coming together too often anymore. And in some people, I've also witnessed since Corona, like COVID, there was like even this kind of social phobia or something that has been developed. Like, people get, like the ability to connect with people feels sometimes it's decreasing. Now, AI is coming in, and I hear a lot of people, and I do it myself too. I check back with ChatGPT a lot of times, like, oh, I witnessed this kind of situation. Help me reflect. So, and I know a lot of people do that now also, or even have relationships with AI, right? And I mean, it's easy, because it's like, one thing is, I still feel like AI is in a way also how it is built right now, or how it is responding to the input you are given, it's like it's let's say beneficial for you, right? Like
Yes.
in the things you put in. So in a way, it also takes friction out, and that's another
Hmm.
thing that I feel like. And I mean, I said that you have small kids. I have a 3-year-old. We're trying to build like a frictionless life for them to a certain extent. But what we're
Hmm.
actually doing is also taking like growth opportunities out, right? Because to become resilient and adaptive, it's okay. It's okay that they, I don't know, fall and they get up by themselves. And it's actually a
Yeah.
really important skill in a
Yeah.
world that is very rocky how it is right now. So how do you see that happening? Like human relationships and the need
Yeah.
for community.
Yeah, I think that at some point we're all going to be able to build whatever we want, right? Technologically
Mm,
and business wise and service wise and product wise and all that kind of stuff. We'll be able to just ask the AI and say, "Hey, build me a company that does this and that," and boom.
mm,
And if you have those robots, you'll be able to say, "All right, well, it's a gardening company, and I have 3 robots, and they go to
mm.
gardening for my neighbors." Whatever. We're all going to be able to do this, all right?
Yes.
But who's going to be the winners? Is going to be the ones who has the community, the ones who has distribution, the ones who actually can speak to humans and have real relationships. For sure, those are going to be the actual winners, or is going to be the pro side of 10 people builds companies that can do the same thing, but one is an extrovert and can or it could be an introvert, by the way. I'm not kind of dissing any introverts out there, but it's somebody that can talk to humans and somebody that can build that relationship, and potentially somebody that already has some community, some following, some friends and friends, right? And I think that's going to be important because it's getting very noisy out there as well. Most of my business comes from referral, because we have friends and we do great work for friends, and other friends come in and
Mm,
so on. And I think that we're going to see more of that, because today it's not going to be the same thing as like you go on Google search and you find some company you like. You go to ChatGPT, you ask, "Hey, which one is the best?" or whatever, right? Or you ask your friend, hopefully, right?
mm,
So I think that IRL, right? IRL in real life, right? Is
mhm.
going to be a massive topic, and I think COVID started that, anyways, right? It wasn't even
Yes.
AI. Is when I mean, COVID was I'm gonna say it, the stupidest thing in the fucking world. Sorry, it's like, how can you lock everybody inside the house? I'm sorry, I said it, and some people are gonna hate me for it. I'm sure they will, and
Mm,
sorry about that. Don't hate, love, not fear, and stuff. Love people, love their views and so on. A lot of crazy things we can go, but I think it was the craziest thing. By locking ourselves, we made the virus last even longer. Like, and it didn't bring any benefits. Like, we're not going to talk politics here and so on, but there was a lot of games behind it. But we got stuck in these houses, and suddenly I spoke to my friends who I didn't speak in 20 years, randomly, right? Because
mm,
we could connect on Zoom and everybody wanted to connect, and before that I didn't speak to them in 20 years, right? And so
mhm.
weird, right? We were locked in, but suddenly we started to go back to certain relationships, or we joined certain communities. There was Clubhouse. I don't know if you remember. Everybody was in this
Oh
app
yeah,
listening. Yeah, it was
yeah, yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, people were talking about whatever, right? There was some weird ones,
yes.
and and there was an aubergine one, and I went in. I was like, "Oh my god, this is bad." I heard some stuff. I was like, "I'm leaving this one." So
You should
there
have
was
known better. Seriously, Tim.
yeah, yeah. I was curious. So let's say I was curious. Curiosity is one of
Okay.
my core values. So I was like, "Oh, what's that?" That didn't turn out to be what I expected it to be. So I left, and then we all tried to find new connections. We all tried to find new networks, new communities.
Mm,
So we as humans, actually, the second you lock us in, and you put us like in a room or whatever, we are social animals, right? That's one of
mhm,
the things that we're great as humans, right? Is like we build, we build crews, or we build, these people gatherings, villages and towns and stuff like that, right? That's how we kind of evolved as well, didn't we? So I believe that as AI is becoming much more something that tackles a lot of the business, a lot of the painful things, and so on, we are going to long and we're going to look for more connections. We're going to look for network, and we're going to have more time for my network, right? Because
mm,
I'm suddenly going to maybe do a couple hours today and be like, wow, I've done so much work thanks to this AI. And it's actually, my agents now are working for me. I've planned them all out today for 2-3 hours. I planned them all out. They're going to work for the next 20 hours. And, and tomorrow I'm going to check out their output, and I'm going to be the human in the loop, and I'm going to tweak stuff and so on. And maybe in those 20 hours, hopefully there's going to be some sleep, but I'm going to go party. I'm going to go see people. I'm going to network. I'm going to meet Tina and her kids with my kids, right? We're going to visit again Berlin together or whatever, right? Things like that. So I think that event businesses, anyone out there, event businesses are great businesses. If you're building something and you want some support in AI, let me know. But I think that in real life, event businesses, hospitality, may it be restaurants, hotels, experiences, things like that, are going to boom. They're going to boom. They boomed after COVID, and now we can already see a bunch of great people building things around these spaces. And so I don't think that we're going to be a lonely bunch of people. I think that we are, if we're smart, by the way, right? If we're smart.
Yeah, and there's also
Yeah.
this aspect in it. It's like almost training a muscle, right? It's like if you don't relate, you don't connect, you don't see each other, you don't physically are together, you just don't know how it works anymore in a way. Well, that's not true. You know how it works, but you are developing somewhat like an anxiety, and this is what I've been seeing in people. And I think that's why there is like a huge focus on AI and how can we be more efficient? How can we use it to our advantage? Like all these kind of things. And at the same time, it feels like there's even like more pressure now on being more productive, on being, putting more speed to it, to keep up to the changes, what's happening in the world. So I do believe everything comes at the right time, but like to manage this and to integrate all that, I think that's where the real challenge lies. And I think that's where, we either have people succeed or fail in a way.
But that's why AI operator comes in, right? That's exactly where and
That's
why,
where your work is coming in with your mission.
Yeah. That's why I think that I'll say it live on, I don't know how many millions of people will listen to us, or billions maybe, right? Is I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time, right? And you were saying about things coming at the right time, and I definitely do feel this time. My mission is very clear. It's that painful, not understanding, not being able to integrate AI into your day-to-day, into your work. Right now it's a work focus, but I want to focus more on health as well, on learning, on design, on building, on events. I want to focus on families and parenting and stuff like that, but that's after. Right now I'm focused on work because I think that's the most painful thing. Like, not many people like their jobs, sadly, right? I love my job now, so I'd love everybody to love their job somehow. So so I made that a personal mission, to help people really love their job, love what they do for work, to earn money, to bring it so that they can do their hobbies and they can do the things that they want to do outside generating revenue. So I really do believe that
But how does that
we are.
make them
Yeah.
love their job? Because you're like, it feels like you're creating like, they use AI to generate the revenue to do the
Yeah.
things outside of their work. And
Yeah.
because a hobby is not a job.
It can be as well, right? So, but it's also, I don't think you should make your hobby a job, because I did that, right? I did that before. DJing and music became my job, and it was painful, right? And to make more money, I had to get out of what I loved in techno back then, underground techno scene in London. And if I wanted to make money, I would have to go commercial, and I didn't want to go
Right.
commercial, so I gave up. I was making some money, but then I was like, yeah. And then I realized that I love music. I love DJing. In Halloween, I was DJing at a party, and it was one of the best times ever. Why? Because I don't do it for money. I do it for pure passion, so I can exactly do whatever I want in the music. And my job, actually, I do it because, yes, I have 2 kids, and you have to have money somehow. But I don't put the money focus at all in front of me. I put it the focus of actually bringing value to people, because then they'll give you money anyways. So when we speak to a company of 500 people, right, an example, and we run a survey, and in the survey it says, it says things like, what's the most painful process, or what do you don't like in your job, almost, right? And it says, what do you love to do and what you don't like to do, right? And 90% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, it are things that is not about actually the core of the job. Is about management, reporting, filling spreadsheets, answering emails. Like answering emails is like the biggest one that comes. Nobody likes answering emails, let's be honest, right? But you have to do it. We could do it in much better ways. But everybody loves, like, a lot of people love to sell. They're like, I love to sell. All right, great. Well, but he has to do a sales report for his VP, or for the founder, or for the VCs. If he's a founder, he's gonna have to do it for the VCs, for the venture capital. They do so much more outside, which is 70 to 80% of things we do is not the core of our job. Okay? So what if I can help reduce or remove that 70-80% that you don't actually like to do, and that 20% that you like to do suddenly becomes 100% of what you do?
Yeah.
You are gonna love
You
your
do
job.
it differently.
Yeah, and you're gonna be like, wow, I love my job, because I have great calls with people, and then suddenly the call transcript goes automatically, creates a proposal and sends it, updates the CRM and updates the thing, and then at the end of the month it all comes together and creates a report and sends it to the right people, and I don't even have to think about it. I only have to think about bringing Tine the best solution in AI, right? And it's like, hey Tine, is it the best solution for you? Let's talk, right? And maybe you love that. Maybe you love to market because you want to find people that might want that product that is going to be valuable to them, right? But you don't like to do the automation side and creating the sequences and blah blah blah, right? Maybe you don't like to do that, right? So we are finding, in every role, we're finding things that people don't like, and usually that's about up to sometimes 80%, right? And that's where we're focused. If I can reduce that, you can remove that for you, you're going to have a better time. You're going to love your job. And one more thing I want to add, Tina, here, while we're talking about this, because, it's something that I always been thinking about. We are not designed as humans, I think, arms and legs and whatever. We're not designed to sit in front of a desk for 8-9 hours and go, like, we're not designed for this.
No, I mean, we have to go to the to the massage gym and everything to
the massage. Kind of I like that.
Balance, right?
I'm going to the massage. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to the massage right now. I love that idea.
But you get the point, right? You need to
absolutely. We need to move. We need to move.
Yeah.
We need to move. When is the best ideas? It's definitely not when I'm in front of a desk.
No.
It's in the shower, or you're in the bathroom, or is when you're walking around in the forest or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I've not been doing it lately because it was too hot here in Bodrum, but now the weather is much better. It's like between calls or between things is I go for a walk, and in that walk, I have this necklace that you can see that I'm wearing. It's an AI note taker, right? And I just talk to it, and then if somebody looks at me, they're like, "Who's this crazy guy? Oh, he's lost it," right? But I'm actually putting everything in my mind. I'm putting it, I'm puking it out almost to this machine for 30 minutes, and I'm doing my exercise. I'm getting some sunlight. I'm seeing some beautiful nature, and then I come back on my desk, and then I just transfer it over, and then I put it on ChatGPT, and I have that 30 minutes became a really incredible Q4 strategy and plan, or whatever, right? Like, or a new service, or a new way, or a resource, a guide, or a marketing thing, or a podcast, whatever, right? And I'm like, oh, we definitely are not designed to sit at the desk the whole time. So we are going to find new ways to work, and this is definitely going to come with potentially the new hardware that OpenAI is going to bring next year, and it's going to be this little machine that is going to listen to us, that is going to do some tasks for us and so on. And we might not be in a computer all day long, and they're saying it's not going to even have a screen or something like that, right? So suddenly we are going to find the next chapter of humanity on working with tools, like a new tool, right? So fire, I think this is bigger than fire. It's bigger than electricity. It's bigger than fire, and we are going to reinvent how we do everything, and we're just in the urge of that, and it's super exciting. Super exciting.
And I think it's like going back to this point, it's not substituting like certain things, like it's making more space for certain things, like what you said, right? Like, for example, there's value in certain, I don't know, rituals, or you do your breathing, or you do your yoga, or you read a book, like, because that's also something people are like, oh, our kids are not reading books anymore. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't have to be like that, right? You can still read
No.
a book and take the time for it and actually like practice focus and these kind of things, right? In the
Hmm.
world that is
Hmm.
spinning faster every single day. And I think this is important to keep in our mind. Like, no, it's not substituting all these things that have to do with mindfulness, because that skill actually is getting more important, because
Hmm.
that is shaping your mindset and that is shaping how you're using these tools for your advantage, right? So there's
Absolutely.
not this either or, but it's like, how do we integrate? And I love this about you and AI operator, like literally, like just putting that on the table, right? And that,
Hmm.
I think, like approaching it this way is also taking the fear away from it, right? It's like,
Hmm.
no, you have the agency, you have the accountability, so use it. Don't
Yep.
don't just say, oh, this whatever is happening, and it's happening there and I'm here. No, that's not an isolated process. I
Hmm.
mean, yes,
Hmm.
you still decide if you want to be involved and how much you want to be involved, but
Yep.
you're practically saying, don't be stupid now, get involved,
Get
and
involved, because you can't stop it. We couldn't stop
yeah,
electricity, did we? We have electricity. I have my
exactly.
lights on, and we're not gonna stop this. It's already for sure that we can't stop it. Even I think even the political discussions. What was it last year? They were like, let's stop the AI and stuff like that. That's gone. Even like we don't hear that anymore. I haven't heard it
No,
in a year. It's like it's too late,
no,
but in a nice
exactly.
way. Yeah, it's in a nice way. we're
Internet.
we're, we're in
Yeah,
we're in this together. Exactly. Internet. A lot of people were like, oh, I'm not going to go on the world wide web. Right, and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so it's the same thing for sure, but I think you said something very interesting. And you know I think also the growth mindset for sure is very important, but also I guess from having a growth mindset, you're going to find new ways of focusing. And I think focus is
Hmm.
going to be huge.
Hmm.
People who can focus for more time, and people that can really dive deep into a topic that they have in front of them, and they can focus while they have this AI potentially on the side supporting them focus even more and get more, are gonna be revolutionary. They're gonna find
Hmm.
new cures to diseases, and they're gonna find, you know, hopefully they're even gonna find the solution to poverty.
Hmm.
But the human is the center, and the human has to focus, because we are these type of machines as well that can think outside the box, right? And
Hmm.
we can dream, and these machines can't do that yet, right? And we invented these machines. um Potentially one day they might be able to do that. I don't know yet that myself. Like, is AGI, artificial general intelligence, when it kind of can dream and can invent completely new things, from new information or from not having any information? That's a great question. But I do believe that still, uh, it is a human-centered world, and we kind of created it, and we got here today. We're creating this AI. And somebody asked me the other day. They were like, I think it was the painter in the house, and they said, when was this created? I was like,
Hmm.
well, there was not really a time. It just evolved. It evolved from
Hmm.
algorithms to a lot of things, to lots of research, lots of studies, lots of different programming languages, machine learning, and neural networks, and trying to copy the human brain and stuff like that. So it kind of evolved there. And I'm sure that right now maybe some people feel that the human evolution is there, and then we've been evolving this. But I think that we are starting to merge together, and we are going to see these superpowered humans, which we kind of, I would say, I'm starting to become like that, because I was just showing earlier to a client, I can get 10 to 15 agents do a work that potentially was taking us a couple weeks, 7 people. Now I can do it in 30 minutes on my own. And the quality is there, and everybody's like, oh yeah, but the AI makes errors. And it's like, doesn't humans make errors?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's like if we see it again from the negative, we're not seeing the positives, you know.
Yeah,
So we're gonna have to change our mindset around it, and so it's my call for
100%.
everybody. Please, look at it from a love, not fear perspective, and learn it. And if you don't like ChatGPT, you have Claude. If you don't like it, you have Gemini, you have Mistral, you have Perplexity, you have so many other tools. And then one could be better for you, one model could be better or worse for you. But practice it, because I don't want you to be behind. I don't want
Mm.
anyone to stay behind. For sure, there's going to be some people, but please, if you're listening to this,
Mm.
don't stay behind.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's the point. It's like developing a healthy relationship to it, and we only do that if we get involved. It's with everything
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Intentionality.
intentionality.
It's our
Oh
keyword
yeah.
for Q4 in my company, and I announced it also to my family. I was like, guys, this is the quarter's keyword is intentionality. Let's do things with intention.
And you're the second one on this podcast highlighting that. Lais
Really?
Glück, she
Okay.
also said it. She's an experienced designer and she
Okay.
does everything out of intentionality. So, and it makes
Yeah.
completely sense because it's, I mean, like with all the tools, with everything, with the connections we are making, the relationships we are
Mhm.
building, the companies we are forming. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, so I have a question in particular on software development and
Yep.
how is AI changing software development? Why I'm picking this is because it feels like one of the most tangible examples.
Mhm.
Like because it feels like okay, you same. What is your intention? And that a human still needs to needs to start the process. But
Yeah.
tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Wow. Well, I'll kind of go from the end to today. Like what I see it is that we all will become these product engineers that engineers any product dynamically for whenever we need it. Right? Meaning that you come into your kitchen and you're like, oh, what's in the fridge? But you don't even want to look. And maybe your fridge is smart, has a camera, and you're just gonna be like, oh, build me a quick app that every week reminds me of what's in my fridge and goes and buys it, and the robot brings it, right? And it's gonna be like, blah, 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 it's done. And then suddenly every week you have this habit of like your fridge is full, filled up on its own kind of thing. So I think we're gonna get to that, right? That's going to take a bit of time. Even my wife will be able to build whatever product she wants, and she will be able to do that. And my daughter will be able to do that. She's 4. She can already do robotics Lego. It's like, wow, you're 4. It's like, what's happening? What are you going to do when you're 8?
Yeah.
I'm curious. In the car, sometimes she tells me, she said, Daddy, can you put on ChatGPT? And then we put ChatGPT on the CarPlay, and then we learn about Winnie the Pooh or whatever its story, and she asks interesting. No, she asked about planets, and she was like, "Oh,
Oh.
Mercury is the hottest." I was like, "How do you know Mercury is the hottest?" And she's like, "Well, I learned it at Lingo Kids because I give her sometimes this application." And then she's like, "I want to talk more about volcanoes." And ChatGPT and my daughter was talking about volcanoes and what are the active volcanoes around the world. She's 4. I'm like, did I do that for? I don't think so. Like
No.
I was barely speaking for her, I reckon. But I'm a man, so we're slower. I see my boy;
Yeah, that's
he's a
true.
bit slower. My daughter, don't tell that to my wife; she gets upset. But my daughter's doing is doing so well so fast. So I really see that in programming, we are going to be able to program whatever we want dynamically whenever we need it in instant, near instant, right? I think that's coming. That's going to happen. But if we go back one level, or let's come back to today, and then I'll give you a little bit of what I think is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. And I'm sorry for any engineers and or programmers out there, because I have a few friends that gets upset when I say this, but I don't think that we are going to code anymore, right? We're not going to write code. We are not. We are going to be these product engineers that has to think about, what is the value of the product? How do you interact with the product? What information does the product need? And how can you give that information? How can you give context to that product? I think that's where we're going to get in 3 years, because already, you hear stories, but I've seen it, there are even big companies, they say, 70% of all code now is written by AI,
Mhm.
right? That's a big number. And then,
It's
some
a huge
CTO,
number.
it's a huge number. And some CTOs
Mhm.
out there will say, yeah, but that's spaghetti code. And it's like, well, sometimes that spaghetti code works. Sometimes.
Mhm.
And we're still 2025 Q4. I'm not
Mhm.
saying next year, right? How about next year, right? So, and we saw it like 6 months ago. It couldn't really code much. But today, in a minute, if I wanted, I could give you a whole mini application that does some basic stuff. And then in a year, that application is going to be a little bit more complex. And then in a couple of years, that application is going to be that I don't even have to see the code anymore, or I don't have to debug anything because we have debugging agents now. They're going to fix themselves, the errors. And then one day they're going to learn from their errors that they've done it because of training data. And in 3 years, they're not even going to have errors because they've already figured out that these are the errors that they always do. And they're going to train themselves on not having these errors. Right now, we're still kind of training the AI, but the AI is starting to train itself, right? And we know that synthetic data, and then it can kind of train itself, and it's learning from us. It's learning from our usage. And the CTOs that sometimes say that they're the ones who's creating these machines that write the codes, right? And then they're gonna I think engineers, developers are going to put themselves out of work. Yeah. And we all will be able to become these product engineers. And that's definitely a few years. It's not 10 years. I think it's 3 years where everybody can kind of get really good apps together. And then the dynamic kind of space is going to happen in the next 5 years, because Claude, Anthropic, Claude had a really interesting experimental thing called Imagine. And there was a little button only for some Claude Max users, and you could click Imagine, and then a computer was coming up and it was asking, what do you want to do? And then I said, I actually wrote, I want a platform to coach myself. And he went, okay. And then something came. It's like, all right, so what would you like to coach on yourself for? Here's some options. And I click it, and then I could see that it was building the next step. It was programming. It was coding the next step of the product. And as I interacted with it, it was programming the next step dynamically. So it was taking the human input to actually give you the next experience, the next step. And this was just an experiment in 2025 Q4. So this is going to become a reality in no time. So I think that for the programmers out there who I love, thank you very much for building some of the greatest products, because I love tools, I love technology. I think that the seniors who are able to imagine these incredible experiences and these flows and so on, I think they're going to do really well, because they're going to be able to code and create many products. The juniors who or just graduating into learning code, I'm a bit worried for you. I would kind of say, all right, well, let me learn the AI very quickly and not focus just on programming, but understanding on how AI codes and how can I clean up that thing and so on, because it's evolving very, very rapidly. It was a very long answer because it's a very interesting space, which I'm not technical. I'm not a developer, but now I am. I could actually call myself somewhat a developer because I programmed many applications in the past few months just for fun, and they work. Most of them work.
But how does the role of the developer then change?
Yeah, well, so that's why I think the senior developer is not going to code, is not going to write code, is going to tell experiences, is going to say, all right, when this happens, this should happen, when you should ask the human this, and then show them a beautiful dashboard that has these numbers. Right, you're going to say these things and that's going to happen. So I think that it's going to get more creative even, so I think the product manager and the product manager and the developer is going to kind of merge. And I saw this the other day and somebody called it a product engineer, right? So we are going to have more product engineers, because we don't need actual people to write codes because the AI is going to write the code. But we're still going to need orchestrators, people that can see, people can imagine, people can visualize what should be built. If you can visualize it and you can translate that in natural language and potentially in speaking and not just typing, if you can kind of translate that really well from your brain and from your imagination to these machines, the machine will do the rest.
Yeah. So it's a complete new skill. Also, like the imagining part. Like I have to say, like I was, for example, like when Canva came out years ago, I was so hyped because for me it was like I never learned, I don't know, Adobe, Photoshop, whatever, right? But I had like always this very like I was imagining like so many designs in my head and like putting colors together, but I could not just like put them in a digital space. So I was like, out of the sudden, I could just like spit it out and do all the designs I wanted to. And then I
Yeah.
made like, products out of it and whatever, but I never learned it. So it was like self-taught, but that also, it brought me a completely different role, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're building in a way individual kind of solopreneurs with a very different kind of mindset, or that is the mindset that is going to be like so important. Like
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, organizations are going to be reshaped. Education needs to be reshaped. That's a
Yeah,
huge
but
one.
that's like, yeah, that needs to be
And
done ASAP. Yeah.
like yesterday, right? And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
if you look at, I don't know, business schools now or high schools or whatsoever, I mean, like just in COVID, like I think COVID was like the pre-test kind of, and now is like accelerating. They have
Yeah.
to, it's hard for them to catch up because they had a different kind of education as well, and like the content they just want to push through is not much of it is very relevant anymore. So, and it's also
No.
shifting
No.
again to more to like the people side of things, right? What can you teach children how they can regulate and manage their emotions, help them what they really like to find out what they really want to do, and all these kind of things. So, yeah, I think a lot is coming towards us, and I think for a lot of people it can feel very overwhelming. But as you say, like if you can change your attitude to it and can be positive about it, this can be a real gift.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a gift, and I think your Canva example is a great one. You know, now if you look at it, there is Canva connector, Canva app inside ChatGPT, and those things that maybe it was too technical, some things. Now you could just say it in a natural language and it's going to be done, right?
Mhm.
So anyone who's a bit creative, who has a vision, is going to do really well. And the gift is that you have these machines that can actually translate your vision into technical things, into code, into development, into visuals, into video, into images, into all these things, right? So but you said it as well. It's the most important here is going to be, for me, the second. I think it's the first one, but I started with business so that I can get the money to be able to invest it into learning, right?
Mhm.
Because I was a professor at university for 3 years in Barcelona just because of COVID, right? So COVID happened.
Mhm.
Actually, I was giving some extra classes, and then COVID happened, and I was good at Zoom. I was, the cool prof, the cool teacher that could do online things and do a show, and
Yeah,
and
of course. I can
um,
imagine.
you know, yeah, yeah. So and everybody would be
Yeah.
engaged, and they're like, and then the schools that I was in two different schools, and they said, "Can you do more classes?" I was like, sure, yeah, why not, right? And then I realized I like teaching things to kids. I mean, they were 18 to 22, 23-year-old kids, and they came to me. They're like, "Oh my god, you changed my university years. You changed my education." And I was like, "Why?" They're like, "Well, you taught us practical stuff, and if we asked you a question, you wouldn't answer it, and you would say, 'Did you search it?' Back then, it was Google search. I would ask, 'Did you
Mhm.
Google search that?' And they're like, 'No.' I'm like, 'Well, go Google search and then come back,' right?" And they would ask me the question. I'd ask it back to them, and then in the beginning, the first couple of weeks, they would not like me. They're like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't tell us the answers."
He
And then
doesn't
by
know.
the end, yeah, yeah, he doesn't know. Yeah, he's not that smart. And then by the end, they'd be like, "Oh man, thank you so much." It's like, you taught us to be
Mm.
curious. You taught us to actually go get that information and find it, and give us practical skills and a lot of soft skills.
And
And
agency. You taught them
yeah, and
agency.
agents, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
guess so. I never saw it like that, but I see it today. And this is why AR Operator and building this new business for me made a lot of sense naturally, and I didn't understand it. And my business partner helped me a lot, which you know really well, helped me a lot to
Mm.
get here. And suddenly I'm like, oh, shit, I love what I do because I'm teaching business people not to do boring work and to do what they love.
Mm.
And then what's my next thing is to make sure that the next generation of workers, are right away into these things. So school, education, and so on should have been changed yesterday. It sadly wasn't. Yeah, I need to start it right now to actually go and help education and help, because I see my daughter.
Mm.
She's 4,
Yeah.
and she's learning so much, and I want to make sure that she has an incredible future. And I don't want her
Mm.
just to learn. I went to French school, and they taught me poems by heart, and
Oh, I
all
did
these
the
kind of
same.
things. Yeah, and yeah, exactly, and history of Louis XIV and the sun and blah blah blah. Okay, it's good to know some history, they say, but I'm like, I never use that information again in my whole life. But then I was, I learned so much doing business or building stuff or making mistakes or talking to people, learning from others. So how do we translate that now with AI? I think we can. I think the biggest thing is going to be customized tutoring, mentoring, teaching for the
Mm,
person at their
yeah.
at their time in life and what they want to learn, and get them the curious and getting them to the places that they want to go but they didn't know they could go there, and then finding their
Yeah.
their hobbies and stuff like that. I know we're talking a lot, but one thing I'm going to add, it was very interesting. Somebody said it's about at 4 to 6 years old you actually discover what you want to do. Can you believe
Already.
that? Yes,
Oh,
and
wow.
apparently your biggest hobby or thing that you love, like you love doing, actually that should be your job. That should be what you do because you'll do it
Hmm.
really well. But then suddenly, as we grow old in schools and so on, they teach us something completely different, and we
Hmm.
don't think about what were we so passionate about. And apparently, it's 3 to 6 or something like that. They said, and I know it's before 6, and I was like, oh my god, my daughter's 4. She
Hmm.
loves building stuff. Like I really realized, like, yes, every kid likes Lego, but my child is obsessed about building stuff.
Hmm.
Lego, magnet tiles, and she puts things all the time, and it's houses
Hmm.
all the time, houses, houses, houses. And I'm like, oh, architect, and we'll see, of course, what she wants to do with it. But you can already see what she's passionate, and I can give her the area of her passion. I believe she'll do really well. But if I tell her, oh no, but doctor, it's better pay, or you should be a doctor, or you should be a business person, and then she'll kind of believe, oh yeah, I should be a doctor, I should be a business person because they told me, and then she'll forget
Hmm.
about that passion.
Hmm.
So we got to be
Yeah,
careful.
and also, I mean, like this kind of giving them skills to reinvent themselves. I mean, if I look back, I feel like I've lived so many different lives already, like, and it's such a gift. I don't regret any of that because it's like it's like multifaceted. Like it's like experiencing life at its essence for me.
Mm.
This feeling of being alive. And yeah, I think if our kids get that as a gift, I think they will do great. So,
Yeah.
Tim, give us
Thank you.
our give us your secrets. What are your tips and tricks like the world should know about? And I know today is November 2025, so it's like it's probably going to change in like tomorrow. But yeah, what is it?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. This is a great question. Uh, so my tips today is like get get good at writing down what you do.
Hmm.
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's like we
Yeah.
never like documenting. Nobody likes to write what they do, right? They like to journal and inspire,
Hmm.
but nobody likes to say, "Oh, this is how I do that sales report," right? And step by step. Nobody likes to create processes, and not just in that. And I think even in life, right? If you can write everything that you do somehow and explain it in a nice, clean way, today or tomorrow, you have this machine that you could just say, "Here you go. Can you do this for me?" And there's a very big chance it's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I can handle that for you." And like, oh shit, that's done for me now, right? So today we have to get comfortable in translating what we actually do into natural language, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's prompting, right? Prompt engineering, and now context engineering, finding the right information, putting it, and so on. But I think it all goes down to being able to translate what you do that is very easily readable by a dummy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that dummy is going to be the AI, and it's going to read it and it's going to be like, oh, this is easy for me. I'll do that. So really focus on that. And I'm saying this because I have, I'm running Claude Code in my terminal, in my computer. Some people can be like, what is he saying? But it has like about 50 agents. I used to have 104 of them. I fired 54 of them. I always say that. I archived 54 of them. I have 50 agents who does about 70% of the work that I was doing before the summer,
Okay.
right? And now I can focus on more training. I can focus
Mm-hmm.
more on sales, and I don't have to do a lot of the things that I had to do to make sure that I could sell and train people, right? Why? Because for the last year, I did that process, and I kind of perfected that process. And then I was able to translate that process into a system, into step by step. And then I obsessed over it in the last couple months, and now I've kind of automated that whole thing. Right? So I suggest everybody, look at the most painful or the most important processes and systems that you run, and write them down, and be good at writing them down and test them. And you'll see that when you're writing them down and thinking about it, you can do even better. So you're going to start doing better. And then when you're like, wow, this is great, then you can get AI to help you do that. But also the other tips and tricks, I think, is stay curious. If something doesn't work and it's crap and it's shit, say, oh yeah, but this is shit. Yeah, say, why is shit? Why is this shit? Oh well, because it gave me wrong information. All right, great. Okay, try again tomorrow. Right? Because the next day it might have a new feature called deep research that might go and get the information, and the information suddenly is correct. You're like, oh, I found the correct information now, right? So keep trying things, keep being curious, and love, not fear. I guess that's like kind of love, not fear. Take every approach, everything intentionally, right? And love what you do, even if you know that there's a big chance that it's not going to work out.
Right.
Because if you love it, there's a big chance that you're going to get out on the side that it works out.
Love that. Thank you so much, Tim.
Does that help?
Yeah, I think it does. And actually, you are opening another big topic about language and the importance of it and communication, which I would love to go into, but not today. I think we should say
another episode.
Yes, another episode, because I think it's super important, a super important skill. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. If it's some serious stuff, tim@aioperator.com, right? My email is the best channel if it's serious. If it's love letters, I can give you my house address, right?
So you want them handwritten, really?
Yeah, exactly, right. So so if you do our series, tim@aioperator.com. If you want to follow my LinkedIn, I post every day. I have a newsletter there as well. It's Tim Cakir, Tim Cakir on LinkedIn, and same on YouTube. I create videos of everything that I learn, everything I try. It's all free. You could actually take everything that I teach, even in like big corporate programs, you could find it for free, right? It's just that companies pay because it's very custom to them, their processes, right? But all that information that I share, I always share it free on LinkedIn, on my email newsletter, which is weekly.aioperator.com, or you can find it on the LinkedIn, and same first name, last name on YouTube.
Thank you. And you also have a gift for our audience, so to say.
Yes, I do.
The AI Readiness.
Yes. Is it going to be in the description?
We will. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there's a.
It will.
Yeah. AI Readiness Assessment. The AI Readiness Assessment. That gift is also on aioperator.com. You can go to resource AI tools, and you have AI Readiness Assessment. If you have a serious business, you have a few number of employees, it'll do great for you there. If you don't have that, you can do it if you want to have fun, but you're not going to get very benefit of it. But it's for companies to really assess their readiness in this new AI world, and how to transform their company to the next stage. So if you have especially a company of like 50 plus people, I always say, because 50 plus people is huge return on investment the second that you kind of start dabbling in AI and start learning and training your people. Fill out the form. It's a custom thing to you, the AI Readiness Assessment. It's a gift for all of you. Let me know. Send me an email after and be like, wow, I like this, I don't like it, why? And let's chat about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much.
Tina, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great.
Ow.
Dreamers, doers, and rule breakers. People who try new things, take risks, and break the mold. Wins or stumbles, that's how the world shifts. This is How It Shifts,